Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, it wouldn't be another day without some more Ubisoft news, and Ubisoft Forward is on September 10th, another week away. And how do you like Prince of Persia?
Yeah, I mean, everyone likes Prince of Persia. Everyone's kind of in that, I think, that kind of like middle ground between, you don't love it, you don't hate it, you have fond memories of it as a kid. I'll take it. I'll take a bit of Prince of Persia in any form, even the Jake Gyllenhaal movie. You know what I mean? Any kind of Prince of Persia tat, I'll have it. But I'm not going to be in love with it. I didn't expect to have.
You can't
this
be busting out the
it.
Gyllenhaal the whole movie before the watershed. That's a level of devotion that we don't need. No.
Yeah.
I will give you some more details though. So this comes from Jason Schreier. Obviously it does. Talking on the Triple Click podcast. It's the one that he formed after he left Kotaku. And he was just talking about the general state of Nintendo, Ubisoft, different things that are coming up across the rest of the year. And he said that the Prince of Persia remake was going to be announced earlier, but it's going to be next week. That it's like I don't know if it's a full-on remake, but he refers to it as the Prince of Persia remake. But I think across the industry right now, the term remake is a bit of a blur because it's like, do they do a texture overhaul like Ubisoft have in the past with something like Far Cry 3 or Assassin's Creed 3, or is it something more like Activision have done, like Spyro, Crash, or even the Tony Hawk's games, where I would class them more as a remake rather than a remaster? But it kind of goes both ways. I guess, what would you want to see at this stage? Like just a texture overhaul or something more fundamental?
Something more fundamental. I think that Prince of Persia has been away for long enough that it justifies a more, or at least a bigger overhaul. Like the games that Ubisoft have remastered so far, like Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 2 as well, Far Cry 3 and stuff, they're not quite as old as those older Prince of Persia games, and I feel like there's more work to be done to kind of modernize things that might be a little bit archaic now, because back in the day, Scott Telfer, when I got Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, or whatever. That's what the first one was called, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sands of Time is the first one, yeah.
Sands of Time is the first one. When I got that game for my birthday one year, when I first did the time traveling backwards thing, I thought that I wouldn't ever play another game again because that was so appealing and felt so groundbreaking at the time. I said I could play this forever and not get bored. Obviously, I got bored and traded it in eventually, but that initial feeling of awe, I feel like you could capture that again if you update it, if you add a kind of blow out the levels, I guess, make them a little less linear, give you more freedom, give you more agility, kind of copy a bunch of stuff that Assassin's Creed has done in terms of movement and animation and kind of like plonk it into Prince of Persia. I think they need to do that because they could just do a HD remaster, up the textures or whatever. But I feel like, it's been long enough, it deserves something a bit more substantial. In my eyes.
Well, they did do an HD collection on PS3. It's just that it never made its way to like Switch or anything, because this thing is rumored for PS4 and Switch for now, and I guess we'll see whatever it comes to later on. There was that cancelled version of Prince of Persia that got leaked as well. That was like about a month or two ago, where they showed like this kind of overhauled combat system, and like I was going to say it's a bit more Dark Soulsy, but that's just in terms of there's a camera over your shoulder and it's melee based, like therefore it's Dark Souls. But there was a little bit more to it in terms of the time mechanics, like you were rewinding like enemy attacks to get in on certain weak points and things like that. I would love them to do something like that, just reapproach it overall. In terms of more details though, there was a Guatemalan retailer who listed Prince of Persia on August the 20th, and the artwork that they had out, it's a weird hybrid. It's the logo from 2009. It's the rebooted one, the sort of like bluish hue from when they did the remaster, the remake, that no one got back then, that cell shaded version of Prince of Persia that like tanked or whatever. But the actual artwork behind that logo is the Prince of Persia 2 Thrones thing, where it's like him half and half with like his demon self and the real self, which kind of points more towards, if any of that is true, it kind of just looks like a bunch of placeholder stuff. But if that's any indication, then assumedly, it is this like trilogy overhaul. But as someone who went back to Prince of Persia Warrior Within, I got it on Vita, because they re-released that game on Vita. I forget, it's called Revelations. Even though it has a different name, it literally just is Warrior Within. And I don't know how well the Prince's angst would hold up these days, because I thought he was cool. He's listening to Godsmack, that's the main song. I Stand Alone, Chehea is the main song. And if you put that in a modern day context, he's just a bit of a dick. He's just sort of, he's just gruff, he's got his little goatee, kind of like me, and he's just really annoyed.
Well, he is kind of like you, Scott. You are. I feel like I'm the Sands of Time Prince of Persia. You're the Warrior Within Prince of Persia.
I don't bring it on.
Don't admit that on camera.
I don't care. They've got good stuff.
I'm sure they do, man.
I'm going to plug my laptop in while you talk. Carry on.
Okay, just do it. Just don't pay attention to anything I have to say. What I was going to say is when it comes to like the first trilogy, like you said, yeah, I don't think it holds up that well because I have these rose-tinted memories of that trilogy because I used to love it so much. And I used to love Warrior Within. I liked the switch to a edgier Prince, a darker aesthetic, Godsmack on the soundtrack, that big monster that followed you everywhere. But yeah, I don't know if everything is quite as timeless, funnily enough, as the Sands of Time. I feel like that's the one that really kind of everyone looks back on and say it holds up. Whereas Warrior Within, like you said, has that kind of weird tonal issue. And is it Two Thrones? Definitely Two Thrones?
Two Thrones is the third one, yeah.
I feel like I've just forgotten every single subtitle from these Prince of Persia games in this video. Two Thrones.
Sorry, no, maybe it's Twin Snakes. No, that's Metal Gear.
No,
it's been a while. I'm going to say it's Two Thrones. It's the one, we know which one it is, though. It's the one with the stealth mechanics. It's the one where you have the two versions of him, the Shadow Self.
Yeah, like there were a lot of cool like experimental ideas in there, like the two different princes. But even then, I didn't find that amazing when I played it like 10 years ago, whatever, 15 years ago. So I wonder how it's going to hold up. And more importantly, Scott, when we always cover these remasters and older games that we have fond memories of from our childhood, you have to wonder, does anyone else care? Was it just kind of like people around our age who are pining from another Prince of Persia game? Do the youth of today give any kind of crap about a new pop?
I don't know. The thing is about being popped. I don't know because the thing with the Tony Hawk's remaster or remake, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to say remake because they add a bunch of new mechanics and stuff. With Tony Hawk's, that was such a specific time, like with a capital letter T, like that was just such a specific time in the 2000s that we all got involved in. A lot of us took up skateboarding, me included, lol. And I think that was a big sort of cultural movement that you can't really replicate. But in terms of putting that back out again, that only really appeals to the people who were there at the time. And it's weird, an industry that is, a forward-thinking artistic medium, creating things that target specific demographics, like to such a degree. Not that you can't get into Tony Hawk's, but I feel like, everybody, today or whatever is going to be picking up Avengers instead of Tony Hawk's, which you shouldn't do at all, by the way. You should play Tony Hawk's. Don't give your money to Avengers, for the love of God. But yeah, that's the weird thing with something like Prince of Persia. Do you try to modernize it? Do you bring in something like Dark Soulsy mechanics? Or is Prince of Persia's original combat mechanics enough to feel fresh again? I will say that going back to it, I loved how acrobatic it was. Like you can just bounce off the walls, flip over dudes in slow motion. You can do big, spinning attacks to take out multiple guys at once, or spin around a pillar and whatever. It feels like you were factoring the environment in a way that most modern action games don't do. So it could just be enough to do that and then just kind of tighten up the speed and stuff.
Well, I feel like when it comes to, remasters in general, they're almost kind of used as a marketing tool to gauge whether people are interested, you know what I mean? Because even though when the Crash N. Trilogy came out, Activision could bank on people like our age buying it in droves to relive their nostalgia, there was never kind of a way to gauge whether or not people would be interested in buying Crash 4. And I feel like the success of Crash Team Racing and Crash N. resulted in us getting a Crash 4 in that style and that happening at all. So I wonder whether the same thing might happen with Prince of Persia, you know what I mean? Like they are unsure whether there is a hunger for more Prince of Persia games currently, so they're not wanting to risk it with a full title or add too much in or modernize it in too much of a kind of substantial way, but they can put out a nice remake/remaster of the first trilogy, the first game, and then see if it's only people like us who give a crap because we played it years ago, or whether there is something there worth pursuing and worth kind of targeting a new audience with, I guess.
Well, the time rewinding mechanics are really cool. The thing that might be a little bit put off, or it was just that whole angsty middle sequel thing that Jak and Daxter had as well. But again, love Jak 2. It's just that I don't know how much a new audience would take to that stuff. They'd probably be like, "What the hell is this? Why is Godsmack on the soundtrack?" But it depends sort of how it's done. But yeah, I mean, the Ubisoft Forward event is on September 10th, so I guess we only have like a week to wait and find out. And hopefully, alongside Prince of Persia, we'll get another Splinter Cell. But I'm not going to go into that too much because at this stage, who even knows what the hell that even is at this point? But we do have Sam Fisher's Italian voice actor saying that it's definitely coming. Whether or not that'll be next week, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below of the general state of Prince of Persia and Splinter Cell, and what the sort of things you would like to see at next week's event. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Splinter Cell's not going to happen, Scott. I'm going to get my hopes
It's not,
up
is
once
it, to be
again.
honest?
No, it's not. It's never happening. That's the best they're gonna get. That's the best they're gonna get. You doing that.